Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a situation unfolding right now, documented in a source stack focused on Hurricane Melissa.
Yeah, and the reports are, well, stark. They describe Melissa as the most powerful storm this year.
And more than that, crucially, it seems it's the strongest hurricane ever recorded to hit Jamaica directly. That's historic in the worst way.
Absolutely. So our mission today really is to try and make sense of this. First, grasp the sheer scale of this thing.
Okay.
Second, break down the specific catastrophic hazards everyone's bracing for.
And third.
And third, look at the human side, the really complex, almost paradoxical response on the ground, mandatory evacuations versus people deciding to stay.
Right, let's start with the scale then, because Melissa feels like it's just operating on a different level. It's a Category 5 storm.
The maximum, top of the Saffir-Simpson scale.
So just how big is this threat we're talking about?
It's massive. I mean, genuinely record-breaking for Jamaica. The U.S. National Hurricane Center clocked maximum sustained winds at 175 miles per hour.
175 miles per hour. That's 282 kilometers per hour.
Exactly. And that number alone is devastating. But what makes the storm particularly lethal, according to the sources, isn't just the wind speed, it's also its path and, critically, its speed. Or lack thereof.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack those other factors, because the Cat 5 rating is only part of the picture, isn't it?
Definitely.
The sources flag two big threat multipliers. And the first one is kind of counterintuitive. This incredibly powerful storm is moving incredibly slowly.
That's the killer detail. It's crawling at just 2 miles per hour. That's about 4 kilometers per hour. Glacial is the word meteorologists are using.
And why is slow worse in this case?
Well, think about it. A fast storm hits hard but moves on. Wind damage happens over, say, a few hours.
Right.
But when a storm slows down like this, it just sits there. The sources explicitly warn this will exacerbate the impact significantly.
It's like hours and hours of that peak intensity instead of a shorter blast. Prolonged wind stress on buildings.
Exactly. But the even bigger danger with a slow storm, the water. Okay. Which brings us to the second multiplier you mentioned. The rainfall.
Extreme rainfall. The forecasts are talking about up to 40 inches of rain in parts of Jamaica. That's, 1,000 millimeters.
40 inches.
That number is hard to even grab. Let's try and give it some context for people.
Please.
The sources mention that cities like London or Paris get about 650 millimeters of rain in an entire year.
Right.
So we're talking about potentially a year and a half's worth of rain for a major European city.
Yeah.
Dumped onto mountainous Jamaica in less than 2 days.
And think about what that volume of water does. Jamaica's terrain is steep, prone to landslides already.
So the ground just can't absorb it.
Not even close. The NHC is warning about catastrophic flash flooding, obviously, but maybe even more concerning are the landslides. Widespread, numerous, highly destructive landslides. The ground gets saturated by the slow approach, then hit with this deluge. It just gives way.
So you've got this horrifying convergence. Record winds, land ready to slide, and unimaginable amounts of water. Which obviously translates into direct threats to life. What are officials highlighting most?
For coastal areas, the immediate killer is the storm surge. They're warning of a life-threatening storm surge up to 13 feet. That's 4 meters.
13 feet? That's higher than a single-story building.
Yes. And it's expected, particularly along the South Coast's low-lying areas, a 13-foot wall of water doesn't just flood, it destroys.
Which lines up with the damage predictions we're seeing. They're incredibly bleak.
Utterly. Jamaica's Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, was very direct. He said, "I don't believe there is any infrastructure within this region that could withstand a Category 5 storm," just flat out.
Wow.
And the NHC director, even more specific, warning of complete damage, destruction of shelters, homes, and buildings for anything in the eyewall's path. Complete destruction.
And we're already seeing infrastructure buckle, right? Even before the main event hits.
Yeah, that's a key point in the reports. Over 52,000 customers in Jamaica were already without power during the preparation phase.
And the crews couldn't even get out to fix it.
Not everywhere. Heavy rain and already difficult terrain made it too dangerous for restoration teams in some areas. They had to pull back for safety. It just shows how the storm's influence starts long before landfall.
The sheer scale is already overwhelming the basic ability to repair and respond.
Precisely.
Okay, that massive physical danger forces us to look at the human side of this. The potential impact is huge. The IFRC warned 1.5 million people could be affected in Jamaica alone.
And they added that might even be an underestimate.
So what about the preparations? What was put in place?
Well, on paper, the government mobilized significantly. They opened 850 shelters, capacity for over 20,000 people.
Okay.
And officials like Minister Samuda were issuing stark warnings about basics urging people to ration clean water. His words were, "Every drop will count," underscoring the severity.
But here's the disconnect. The paradox highlighted in the reports. Mandatory evacuation orders went out for the most vulnerable, flood-prone areas.
Right. Standard procedure for a storm this size.
Yet officials were reportedly very worried because fewer than 1,000 people had actually shown up at the 130-plus shelters that were open at that time.
It's incredibly low.
Well,
Dangerously low.
so why? Why this reluctance to move when facing what sounds like near certain destruction?
This is where it gets really complex, moving from the storm data to, well, human psychology and economics. The sources point to a few overlapping reasons.
Like what?
First, and maybe most fundamentally, economic fear. Fear of losing everything you own, your home, your livelihood.
It's that terrible choice, isn't it? Risk staying and potentially dying, but maybe saving your property, versus leaving and knowing that if the storm doesn't get it, looting might.
Exactly. That calculation is brutal. We saw quotes from people saying things like, "I am not moving. I don't believe I can run from death." The feeling is if they stay, they might protect something. If they leave, the loss feels guaranteed.
That's heartbreaking. What else is keeping people in place?
Well, second, there seems to be some skepticism, maybe cynicism, based on past experiences.
With shelters.
Yeah. Some reports mention people recalling poor conditions in government shelters during previous, maybe less severe storms. So there's this reluctance, this feeling that the shelters aren't actually a safe or adequate alternative. A lack of trust, perhaps?
Okay, so economic fear, mistrust of official shelters,
Yeah.
and then there's a third factor mentioned, more cultural.
Yes, the role of deep faith. Officials seem to be grappling with this. Some people genuinely believe they can pray something away, as one report put it.
A belief that divine intervention will protect them.
A sincere feeling, yes. Quotes like, "The Lord is going to protect us." And that presents a unique challenge for evacuation efforts because it shifts the decision-making away from, the purely rational assessment of risk toward spiritual conviction.
Wow. So you combine that economic desperation, the potential mistrust of shelters, and this layer of profound faith. You can start to see why those evacuation numbers are so low, even if it seems irrational from the outside.
It definitely makes the official pleas seem even more urgent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Prime Minister Holness's statement, "You have been warned. It's now up to you to use that information to make the right decision." Basically saying, we've told you, the choice is yours now.
The window for persuading people seems to have closed. It's now about individual survival choices.
And tragically, the cost is already being paid even before the worst hits Jamaica. Melissa's already blamed for 7 deaths across the Northern Caribbean.
Yeah.
But there's a specific detail in the sources about Jamaica. 3 storm-related deaths happened during preparations.
That's a really important point. It highlights the hidden dangers. These weren't people caught in the storm itself yet.
What were they doing?
Things like climbing onto roofs to secure them, cutting back potentially dangerous tree limbs, filling or placing sandbags. Necessary preparations, right?
Yeah, things the government probably told them to do.
Exactly. But the health ministry warned that even small accidents during these tasks, a slip off a ladder, a mistake with a tool amplified by maybe early wind gusts or rain can be fatal.
So the very act of getting ready carries its own immediate, potentially lethal risk. That adds another layer of complexity to the stay or go decision.
It really does.
Okay, let's widen the lens again. This isn't just about Jamaica, is it? Melissa keeps moving.
No, it's a regional threat. After Jamaica, the forecast track takes it ashore in eastern Cuba later on Tuesday. And it's still expected to be incredibly powerful then.
How is Cuba preparing? The sources suggest a pretty large-scale operation.
It looks like it, perhaps drawing on their long history with hurricanes. Officials there were planning to evacuate over 600,000 people.
600,000.
Yeah, including in Santiago, their second largest city, which is right in the potential path. And they're also bracing for massive rainfall, up to 20 inches forecast there, too.
So the flooding and landslide threat remains huge even after it crosses Jamaica.
Definitely. And the path continues after Cuba. Hurricane conditions are forecast for the Bahamas by Wednesday.
And others.
Tropical storm conditions are expected for Haiti and the Turks and Caicos Islands as well. So the impact zone is just vast.
Looking back at Jamaica, thinking about the aftermath, Prime Minister Holness really framed the next phase, didn't he? He said, the question now is the speed of recovery. That's the challenge.
He's acknowledging the destruction is almost a given. The focus shifts immediately to what next.
And the level of anticipated damage is so high that the contingency planning sounds almost surreal.
You're thinking of the hospital detail.
Yeah, that detail from the health minister, Tufton. They relocated some hospital patients from the ground floor up to the second floor,
Hoping that would be high enough to clear the storm surge.
hoping the second floor is enough to escape a 13-foot surge. It just crystallizes everything, doesn't it? The expectation is total inundation and failure at ground level.
It shows they're planning with absolutely zero margin for error. It's contingency planning based on surviving the bare minimum elevation because they expect the infrastructure needed for recovery to be severely damaged itself.
It sets up an immense recovery challenge right from the start.
So if we try to pull the key threads from these sources together, what stands out?
Well, for me, two big things. First, just the unique, deadly nature of this storm. It's not just the Cat 5 winds. It's that horrifying combination with the 2-mile-per-hour crawl, that maximizing the exposure, the water damage.
Yeah, the convergence of extreme wind and extreme duration. And the second thing,
The human element, that deep, troubling disconnect between the official warnings, which are based on sound science predicting catastrophe, and the complex reasons, economic, social, maybe spiritual, driving people to stay in harm's way.
that tension is palpable throughout the reports, the human paradox in the face of overwhelming force.
Absolutely. It's a compound tragedy unfolding. Okay, let's leave our listeners with something to think about, drawing from what we've discussed. Here's a final provocative thought for you. We talked about those tragic deaths that happened during preparations in Jamaica, people falling off roofs, accidents while securing property. Given that, what does it really tell us about the hidden burden, maybe the psychological weight of mandatory readiness? If the very act of preparing to survive, the thing you're told to do, carries its own immediate deadly risk, how do emergency managers even calculate that? How do you communicate that specific danger versus the danger of the storm itself? Especially when weighing it against just getting people to a shelter sooner, maybe before they even try to secure their homes. It makes just get ready sound dangerously simplistic, doesn't it? Something to mull over.